So KwaZulu-Natal MEC for Public Works and Infrastructure, Martin Meyer, is expected to make 3 announcements on steps being put in place to deal with the construction mafia problem in the province. This comes after the backdrop of increased extortion and intimidation cases in the built environment by the construction mafia. Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Mcpherson says extortion groups continue to disrupt government construction projects, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal, and he joins us now for more on this. Minister, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. So you've also spoken about the idea of having a summit where you bring together the various MECs for Public Works and Infrastructure. How would this summit be different to what your predecessor, Sihle Zikalala, has been doing, where you're speaking to stakeholders in the built environment to try and deal with the extortion rackets?
Good morning, Eldrin, and good morning to your viewers. I think the reality is that things have just gotten to the point of a crisis now, where these stoppages are just taking place in more than KwaZulu-Natal. They're taking place in the Western Cape, in the Eastern Cape, in Gauteng, and in Mpumalanga, and they are bringing misery to our communities, but also having an adverse effect on our economy, as well as driving away investor sentiment. So it's absolutely crucial that we all get on the same page, and we clearly need to find a new way of dealing with these construction mafia and stoppages, because what we have been doing is just simply not getting is not working. It's getting worse, not better. Yesterday, and I commend Lieutenant General Mcpherson and the South African Police Services in KwaZulu-Natal for arresting 5 people near Pietermaritzburg who are linked to these stoppages, and they'll be appearing in court today. So we need a much stronger stance than we have originally had, and we're only going to do that by singing from the same hymn sheet and coming together in one room, I believe, and not leaving until we have a common approach of how to deal with these people. And in my view, that's got to lead to stronger action and stronger sentences in prison.
Yeah, do we know where the fault lines are? Because again, this is an issue that even the president has spoken about, and task teams were set up to deal with these extortion rackets. Where is the problem?
In my view, Aldrin, the problem lies in the so-called 30% set aside, which is supposed to be for local community development. Now, that is the gateway into these projects for these extortionists and construction mafia who have no interest in community development, but only simply want cash payment. Now, this so-called set aside is not a legislated piece of law. It is a regulation that was introduced under former President Jacob Zuma to satisfy extortionists and to satisfy people that he associated with to try and rent-seek and extract money from the government sector. Now, I don't doubt that the idea of community development and small business development is noble and important, but clearly this is the problem that we have to confront head-on and ask ourselves, is there a better way of trying to achieve the same outcome, or are we happy to persist with the problems that we see? Now, this problem has even transcended into the private sector that is not required under government tendering regulations to provide any set-asides, but is also being subjected now to the same demands by the same people. So it shows me, and it proves to me, that that is the area that we need to urgently address. We need to find better ways of empowering local communities and small businesses and bringing them into the built environment, while stopping the ability and the gateway for these mafia to extort money from the state and private sector.
Yeah. Are you then saying, Minister, that as part of the conversation, what should be on the table is a review of that 30% set aside for local community members who are in the construction industry?
Well, I'm saying that what we should be saying is that if we agree that that is the gateway, and we know that that is the gateway, that's the door that these extortionists are walking through, then we need to ask ourselves, how do we do that better, and simply not work through the system that is currently at play. No one is saying, Aldrin, please don't mistaken me or misconstrue what I'm saying, that no one is saying that we don't want to uplift and empower local communities and small businesses within the built environment. What we cannot do is allow a situation and have a system that we have created as government to be used against us by extortionists and mafia. And don't take my word for it. Take Sean Mcpherson's word for it, who said, well, these are just the way that we're going to do things. And she's very happy to work with the construction mafia. I mean, no righteous person would stand on national television and admit to working with criminal syndicates, people who are well armed, people who use murder and violence as a tactic to get what they want. And so it has become so commonplace and so accepted that we even have people who can stand on TV and say, well, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, well, even that suggestion from Sean Mcpherson is something that Sipho KK Nkosi, the previous MEC for Public Works in KZN, had also put forward before to say, let's have negotiations with the construction mafia.
Well, the KwaZulu-Natal provincial government and the national government are very clear, and I'm very clear as the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. There will be no negotiation, there will be no discussions, no round tables with them. These are not benevolent, community-based people. These are people who are highly organized, well-armed, who use tactics of violence and murder to get what they want. And those people should not be treated as people who we negotiate with. The only thing we should be negotiating is the length of prison sentences that they should be receiving, because they should be treated as enemies of the state if they are perpetuating crimes against the state, which is holding back economic development, holding back job creation, and holding back infrastructure projects from being delivered to communities who so desperately need them.
Minister, currently, do you know of any projects that had to be stopped or where the investors decided not to continue with investment because of fear around these extortion mafias?
There are over 50 projects across this country that have either stalled, stopped, or been withdrawn, running into tens of billions of rands because of these construction mafias. So this is not some theoretical discussion. It is a real issue that is plaguing our country. Not too long ago, I was in a place called the Umkomazi Water Project, which has suffered 3 deaths because of these people. The managing director of Stefanuting Stocks had an attempted assassination on him by these people, where they shot at him 6 times outside his house because the company was not giving in to their demands. As I said, these are not nice people that you can just have a boardroom discussion around. These are thugs, they are crooks, and they are gangsters. And that's why I, again, commend and applaud the action taken by the police in KwaZulu-Natal to arrest these 5 individuals who will be appearing in the Camperdown Magistrates Court today. And I really hope that they are not denied bail, because we have to send a strong message.
You hope that they are denied bail?
Sorry, I do apologize.
Okay.
I hope that they are denied bail, and so that the state is able to send a very strong message that we will not accept stoppages, extortion, or bullying by these groups any longer.
Yeah. Do you think the answer for now is having police deployed at these various construction sites?
Well, I think we need to look at a number of options, and I think to the President's credit, when he deployed the SANDF to a number of power stations across the country when they were under attack from people who were trying to sabotage the state, and that has clearly brought stability to power stations. And it's, of course, an expensive option, but I think that we have to put everything on the table and ask ourselves, what is the best option to deal with these gangs and criminality rings in our country so that we can get our construction program and construction plan back on track? We are incredibly behind. we really have to ramp up our build. We have to ramp up our progress. And we've got to turn our country into a construction site so that we can lead with economic growth that creates jobs in South Africa.
So that means writing to the president to have the SANDF deployed?
Well, these are all the conversations that we have to have, Aldrin. You know, luckily now I'm in cabinet. I don't have to write letters. We can have these discussions in cabinet. We can have these discussions in our subcommittees, and we can look at all of the options. But what I do know and what I do appreciate is that the president is absolutely committed to ending this scourge in our country because he understands full well the economic perils that lie before us if we don't get our infrastructure build back on track and if we don't get our economy to create the millions of much-needed jobs in our country.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that there's an absolute agreement that we've got to deal with this. The question is how, and we've got to do it quickly.
Appreciate your time. Thank you so much. That is the Public Works and Infrastructure Minister there, Dean Mcpherson, on how to deal with the construction mafia, considering that some of them are demanding around 30% of the income that are made by some of the people in the built environment.